You are listening to Skin, Earth, Vitality, the podcast where ancient wisdom meets modern vitality. If you are seeking to reconnect with your innate vibrancy, you're in the right place. I'm Emily Davis, a seasoned holistic esthetician and herbalist. Join me as we unlock the secrets of ancient skincare practices, explore the beauty of seasonal and nature-based living, herbalism, and true holistic well-being for you and the broader ecosystem. This podcast is brought to you by Stratum Aesthetics. Head to stratumaesthetics.com to find curated skincare, body care, and other wellness products hand-selected by me. Now enjoy the show. Today, we're diving into the skincare philosophy that I subscribe to called Corneotherapy. And if you've never heard of it, don't worry. It's a bit of a hidden gem in the skincare world, but it's foundational to the way that I approach skin health. And before I really understood the skin barrier, I used to think that more was better, more exfoliation, more treatments, more products. This was all when I first started my career 17 years ago. I was really following that conventional skincare approach that I had been taught, all the chemical peels, all the scrubs, all the treatments designed to fix the skin by forcing change. And I believed that the only way to get results was to push the skin into this change. And at that time, I didn't question that because that's just what the industry promoted. That's what I had been taught as a little baby esthetician, a little 20-year-old Emily. And everything started to change a couple of years ago when I first started learning advanced face massage. This was such a huge turning point for me in my career. I was so blown away by how much could be achieved without relying on products at all. This was before face massage was the trendy thing that it is now. It was really just this like niche thing that nobody was really talking about. And then once I saw these results firsthand, I started questioning everything I'd been taught. Why the heck was this not part of the conversation? Why was the focus always on stripping the skin down and starting over rather than nourishing what's already there? Face massage was just seen as this like fluffy extra part of a facial, like not really important, like something you would get at a day spa. But the real work was at a medical spa where they're doing the chemical peels and peeling your face off and all this stuff. And I just was like, wait, this is actually quite medical. Like learning about the lymphatic system is mind-blowing. So it was just a very interesting time of identity crisis for me, really. And so this shift continued to change when I was led to corneotherapy. I had heard about it years earlier from another esthetician who had taken a course, and I thought it was interesting, but I wasn't as into education back then as I am now. I didn't really understand that I was worth that investment. And so after that first face massage course, when I saw it pay off on the investment immediately, I was like, oh, what other things can I learn? And so I took the corneotherapy course and it really clicked for me. This focus on restoring the skin's barrier instead of stripping it down was totally what I was looking for. And when I started bringing this approach into my treatment room, I saw firsthand how beneficial this was for my clients. I was seeing skin calming down much more effectively, fewer breakouts, texture of my clients' skin improving, all without those aggressive treatments that I had always been doing before with honestly not a ton of luck. And then even in my own skin, I had this experience. I used to dermaplane religiously, and I think in one of the next coming episodes, I'm going to do an episode all about why I quit dermaplaning. But I always had texture and like tiny breakouts on my cheeks that just wouldn't go away. And then I stopped dermaplaning and my skin cleared up. And that's when I knew that I was on to something, and I knew that I actually had to take those treatments out of my work. So when I talk about skincare as a ritual, as something that's nourishing, intentional, supportive, this is why. It's because I've seen the difference between trying to force change and learning to work with your skin instead. And what I love about corneotherapy is it gives the scientific framework that I was looking for, but I've also made it my own by weaving in herbalism and nourishment and mindfulness, because I do believe skin health is about so much more than just products, which is really where corneotherapy focuses. It's also about how we care for ourselves on the inside. So what is corneotherapy? The word itself comes from corneo, referring to the outermost layer of the skin, the stratum corneum, and therapy meaning treatment. So at its core, corneotherapy is all about repairing the skin barrier, protecting the skin barrier, rather than waging war on it with aggressive treatments. Old school conventional beauty tends to think of this surface layer as like a totally inert, quote unquote, dead layer. And corneotherapy actually sees the barrier as this living, integral part of our skin that's actually so important for communication to the lower layers of the skin, so important for communication with the rest of our body. Our microbiome is communicating with our gut all of the time. And so it's all about respecting the skin's natural rhythms and processes, which is, of course, why it resonates so much with my approach. So the skin barrier, which is intertwined with your stratum corneum, is our first layer of defense. It protects you from pollutants and allergens, and it keeps moisture locked in. And when this barrier is strong and healthy, your skin is balanced and hydrated and resilient. But when the barrier is damaged from over cleansing or harsh exfoliants or just skincare products that aren't supportive or environmental stressors, you're going to start to see issues like dehydration and redness, acne, sensitivity, all kinds of imbalances, even hyperpigmentation. All of these imbalances within our skin. So if you think of the skin like a brick wall, the skin cells are the bricks, and then we have these lipids and oils in between, which are like the mortar. And if the mortar is weak or broken down, that wall's not effective at keeping the outside world out and the inside world in. We're so much happier when we've got a great boundary with our skin. We're so much happier when we have great boundaries in our life, right? Corneotherapy matters because it shifts the focus to rebuilding and maintaining this mortar, the lipid barrier, so your skin can just do what it's designed to do naturally. Your skin can just skin. So instead of stripping and starting over, we're supporting and protecting what's already there. This approach I have seen time and time again helps to calm the inflammation, improve hydration, restore balance, making this approach ideal literally for anyone who has skin. And it's frustrating to me that so much of conventional skincare does not take the barrier into consideration. It's starting to be a hype word now, which is also kind of annoying because even with this, a large majority of the products are still barrier disruptive, even if they're saying like barrier friendly on their label. So that's why I made this episode. I actually put a blog about it on my website also, and I made a free download that's like a guide to ingredients. And I'm starting to build out a list of companies that have, in my opinion, actual barrier supportive products. So with that being said, let's get into the core principles of corneotherapy. If there's one thing that I hope that you take away from today, it's that healthy skin always starts with a healthy barrier. That's why corneotherapy always begins with what I call a barrier first mindset. So first, we prioritize protection. This means avoiding products with harsh ingredients like denatured alcohol or drying alcohols, synthetic fragrances, sulfates, things that can strip the skin and leave it vulnerable. Instead, we look for formulas rich in ceramides, fatty acids, cholesterol, ingredients that mimic and replenish our skin's natural lipids. Second, we focus on nourishment and hydration, supporting the skin with oils and humectants and emollients to help maintain moisture balance and prevent what's called transepidermal water loss, which is where the water in our skin actually evaporates out of the skin when the barrier is compromised. Third, we reduce inflammation. So instead of attacking or killing acne or breakouts with harsh treatments, corneotherapy works to calm the skin with soothing botanicals and anti-inflammatory ingredients. And I think that this is something that really should be talked about more. I think I'll do a whole other podcast episode about this also, but acne is a barrier disruption. Acne is a sensitive skin issue. It's not something that we need to go pour gasoline on the fire, right? It's something that we need to help calm and protect. And then lastly, with corneotherapy, we respect the microbiome. The skin is home to billions of microbes that help keep it healthy. Disrupting this can lead to so many more problems. So corneotherapy is really about emphasizing keeping the microbiome intact with treatments that are not going to destroy it. So let's move on to ingredients. If you want to care for your skin, or if you're an esthetician listening and you're obviously invested in caring for your client's skin, it's really important to learn about ingredients, to understand how to read a skincare ingredient deck just as well as you could read a nutrition label at the grocery store. So that may take some time to start to get familiar with the ingredients. So this is why I made the Ultimate Barrier Health Ingredient Guide, which again is a free download available in the show notes. And it's basically just a cheat sheet where you can look through and see what ingredients that I consider not supportive to the barrier. So corneotherapy is focused on biocompatible skin mimicking ingredients. So biocompatible ingredients are ingredients that are compatible with our skin's biology, meaning that they work in harmony with the skin's natural structure and processes without causing irritation or disruption in those natural processes. They mimic the skin's natural compounds like ceramides, fatty acids, cholesterol. They are easily absorbed and utilized by the skin to repair, nourish, and hydrate. And they also help to maintain the skin's pH balance. We have something called our acid mantle on the skin, which makes it slightly acidic. And because of this, it makes a friendly home for our microbiome. And of course, these are also biodegradable and non-toxic ingredients. Non-biodegradable ingredients do not break down naturally in the environment or on the skin. Instead, they're forming this persistent layer that doesn't really integrate with our skin's biology. This is things like mineral oil, petroleum-based ingredients, silicones. These ingredients sit on top of the skin rather than penetrating it to repair or replenish the lipid matrix. So this can create more of a sealed off environment, which interferes with microbial diversity and causes imbalances within our skin. So rather than relying on quick fixes like occlusive products that quote unquote lock in moisture, corneotherapy is working to restore our skin's natural process so that it can retain moisture and nutrients all on its own. This is a long-term approach that's focusing on functional healing, not superficial solutions. So this is why I've always thought face slugging, which is where you like slap Aquaphor on your face before bed, was not a good idea because we're not creating long-term health within our skin. So examples of biodegradable ingredients include shea butter, beeswax, lecithin, squalane, jojoba oil, rosehip seed oil, glycerin, aloe, honey, actives like marshmallow root, green tea, calendula. The list goes on and on, but pretty much any natural ingredient is a biodegradable ingredient. And then some red flag ingredients, which again, this is in the Barrier Health Ingredient Guide, but we want to look out for harsh surfactants and detergents. So you're going to see this in like a foaming cleanser, oftentimes like sodium lauryl sulfate, sodium laureth sulfate, denatured alcohols. So these are drying alcohols. One example I see very commonly is people will get witch hazel from the grocery store, and that's a witch hazel extract, which has a denatured alcohol in it. And so a better option would be to get a witch hazel hydrosol, which you can find on Aromatics International. So that's one very quick example of denatured alcohols. Fragrances and perfumes. If you see the word fragrance on a label, that's a great giveaway that's probably going to be pretty disruptive and sensitizing parfum. I will say that if the product comes from Europe, it may possibly be that they use essential oils instead of synthetic fragrance. But even so, essential oils can also be quite barrier disruptive as well if used in inappropriate concentrations. Synthetic or harsh preservatives, exfoliating acids like glycolic acid, salicylic acid, silicones and occlusives like mineral oil, and irritants like synthetic dyes. So if it looks like cotton candy and smells like cotton candy, it's probably not supportive to your skin. But even like really high-end products that you find in a high-end department store, I look at those ingredient decks and I'm like, ew, no thank you. It doesn't matter how much it costs or how supposedly high-end a product is, it still can have really disruptive ingredients in it that are not caring for your skin. So many of these conventional products focus on quick results like foaming, getting squeaky clean skin, thick buttery creams, but these are coming at the expense of long-term skin health because they're stripping the skin of their natural oils. They're leaving behind residues that block absorption and disrupt your microbiome. And they prioritize a temporary feel, like softness in your skin, rather than actual real nourishment. And there's such a metaphor here, right? I do feel that so many veils are being dropped and we're really seeing that things that we thought were one thing are really not that thing at all. And so many things are maybe like a false front, and there's no exception in skincare. So when you're shopping for skincare, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed, which is why I'm really trying to start putting together resources that make your life easier for you. And there are apps like the Yucca app, Think Dirty, EWG's Skin Deep, INCI Decoder. These can all be really helpful tools for understanding ingredient safety. However, it's really important to note that most of these tools are focusing primarily on environmental and toxicity concerns, not whether the ingredients are biocompatible and barrier supportive for your skin. So this is why you might have found like a quote unquote clean product that isn't actually doing anything for your skin or even making it worse. This is because they're focused on toxicity, not really on actual skin biology. So for true barrier health, I always recommend using these tools as a starting point, but pairing them with a deeper understanding of how ingredients work with your skin's structure and your skin's microbiome. That's where corneotherapy principles come in and why I created this barrier health ingredient guide. Again, it's totally free to help make you more informed with your skincare choices. So what about treatments? What treatments are considered corneotherapeutic and what treatments are not? And I do want to say there's no morality tied to this. It's really about risk and reward. And it's about understanding where your skin is. And if you're an esthetician, really being able to read where your client's skin is and then also just decide what feels aligned for you. So some examples of non-corneotherapeutic treatments include chemical peels, dermaplaning, microdermabrasion, hydrodermabrasion, and then ablative lasers, which work by removing the outer layers of our skin. And again, it's about deciding what is worth the risk and what isn't worth the risk. It's not like something's quote unquote good or bad. For me, I stopped offering the treatments that I used to offer, including microdermabrasion, chemical peels, dermaplane. I will probably never do any of these treatments on my skin again. I used to get hydrofacials on my skin all the time. I probably will never do that again. And it's really about is this going to make a major change in my skin? How's it going to affect my skin long term? Because again, this is a one-time thing, and it is important to understand that our skin is resilient. Our skin can rebuild. It's not like you get a chemical peel and you've completely ruined your skin forever. Our skin can rebuild, but it's if you're doing this over and over and over again, are you creating health within your skin or are you creating problems within your skin? So some treatments that are considered corneotherapeutic, which I love, include LED treatments, microcurrent, high frequency, microneedling, facial massage, enzyme masks, hydrotherapy gentle steaming and compresses, manual lymphatic drainage. At the heart of my skincare philosophy is the belief that taking care of your skin is more than just applying products. It is a ritual. It's an opportunity to slow down, to connect with yourself, to honor your skin's natural intelligence. And this is why I am so drawn to corneotherapy, because it views skincare not as something we do to the skin, but something we do with the skin. And I've taken this inspiration from corneotherapy because I love its focus on barrier repair and supporting the skin's natural functions. But for me, as I said, skincare is more than just science. It's a conversation with the body, a chance to tune in and create balance from the inside out. So for me, discovering corneotherapy was opening a door to a deeper understanding of how the skin works. It shifted my entire perspective on so many industry practices. But that being said, corneotherapy does have its limits. It's grounded in a very biomedical approach that views the skin as a series of components to fix: lipids, cells, enzymes. And while this perspective is incredibly helpful, it can also feel a bit reductionist. It focuses on the skin really in isolation without considering the whole person, their emotions, their lifestyle, their connection to nature, how these things deeply influence skin health. And so what I've come to realize is that I can take the best of corneotherapy, the science, the biocompatibility, the focus on protecting the skin, and make it my own by adding in what I feel is missing: the emotional, the spiritual, and that holistic lens. So that's why my approach blends this modern research with ancient plant wisdom, mindful rituals, because skin health isn't just about ingredients and formulas. It's about how we nourish our bodies, how we manage stress, and even how we honor our skin as a part of a bigger ecosystem, emotionally, energetically, physically. So if that resonates with you, please hang out with me more. Subscribe to the podcast. Come hang out with me on Instagram and on YouTube. I'm really trying to get my life together and be a YouTuber. And I'm also kind of hanging out on Pinterest a little bit more lately as well. And if you're interested in learning more about what ingredients are red flags, check out my free download linked in the show notes. And in addition to this, I put up a blog that talks about the barrier and how you can support yours. If this episode was helpful to you, please make sure to share it with somebody who you think will get some value with it. I will be back next week, and until then, be well. You've been listening to the Skin Earth Vitality Podcast. If you like what you heard today, consider giving me a 5-star rating. It helps other people just like you to find the show. You can shop products and find all of my offerings on my website, stratumaesthetics.com, and follow me on my social channels at Stratum Aesthetics.